So Greg, we are just a couple of weeks away now from starting F40, which is our 40-day financial sprint. Super excited to sort of go public with this because we've been able to test some of these ideas internally with our team here, and we've seen light bulbs go off for people who are trying to grow their wealth, their income, their independence, and their impact. But I think a lot of these ideas we're going over, some of them are very new for me. I think they're thought-provoking. That's the main thing that comes to mind with this, is like, there's a lot of intention behind how we're getting people to think about money before we show them how to make money. Yeah. So I want to get into some of that with you. The first week, the first part of F40, we call lifestyle design. And that's a phrase I feel like you came up with. I don't think I heard that till I met you. Tell me how you think about lifestyle design, broadly speaking. What does that even mean?
Yeah, lifestyle design, I think, is a beautiful concept. I didn't invent the concept or the idea, but I think what we're doing is sort of building on what it actually means. And like you mentioned, you know, it's exciting because we're launching F40 to the world, to our community. We've been teaching it in this concentrated, sort of bundled, structured format for the past few months. But these ideas are things that I've really talked about, you know, off and on, unbundled to my team for the past few years, for a long time, exactly. And it's been great to see many people's net worths increase, their happiness levels increase. We believe that life is best when you have balance, right, in your health, your wealth, and relationships. And we believe that, you know, we should strive to live at the intersection of health, wealth, and happiness. And that's sort of the art and science of freedom. It's really what we're all about. And I think lifestyle design for me starts when we start thinking about financial freedom and what we want money to do for us, because we all have a vision in our head of like, you know, retiring one day. So we had this concept called the patty otter. How big is your patty otter?
Okay, patty otter.
And this is 10, 12 years ago. I'd walk around the office and we'd grab the camera, and I'd walk into people's offices and literally say, "Hey, Tim, how big's your patty otter?" And I'd catch them off guard, right? Cool. So patty otter is pot at the end of the rainbow. So patty otter. Yep. You know, I did this for like 20 people, and we got their reactions. It was hilarious. But if we think about like retirement, we think about that pot at the end of the rainbow. Most of us think, how much money do I need so I don't have to work anymore? Yeah. So I can just do what I want to do.
Almost everyone, I think.
Right?
Yeah.
And you know, I had an interesting you know, upbringing. I'd say professionally, because I did financial planning for 7 or 8 years out of college, and I got a chance to see behind the curtains of so many hundreds and hundreds, so maybe even a few thousand clients, like how they were thinking about money, and more importantly, how money was supporting them. Because we think like we've got to earn, and we're going to reach a point in life when we cross over this line, and then money should support us. Yeah. And I think money should support us the whole time, the entire time. So the mentality is like, how do I live in freedom now in my 20s or 30s or 40s? Like Tim Ferriss, who wrote the 4-Hour Work Week about 20 years ago or so, he talked about lifestyle design, and he talked in terms of mini retirements. Yeah. And I think I think he was single with no kids, and the concept was great. The concept is romantic, and I think many people read that book and really tried to design their life around that concept. You know, I was already married with kids, with a business, and you know, the practicality of mini retirements multiple times a year just didn't work for me, because my kids were in school and they were in sports, and so I had to design a life. I had to look at my life really like in 3 sections. I looked at my day, like finding a rhythm for each day that I woke up in the morning. I looked at, so that's like short term, you know, small lifestyle design. And then there's the large lifestyle design, like these epic trips that you're going to take, these things that you're going to do maybe once a year that change you or identify the year. And you know, for me, it could be that family vacation to Italy for 10 days. It could be, you know, writing a book. It could be like what we've done this year with Freedomology. We launched our community and mobile app. So I think it's like, what are things that we're trying to build our life around? So I think when we look at lifestyle design, it comes down to income. Most of us want to increase our income. We want to get past like stress level 0, where we're always stressed out financially. Like money is a cause of our like mental health issues. And money is a cause of, literally, it manifests itself with physical health issues. You know, this this overload on the body and the mind, money can cause this type of stress. So I think the first goal with lifestyle design is to get to a point where you sort of walk into this world that you're not stressed out about money issues anymore. And I think income is directly connected to that. So it's either increasing income. Yes, it could be reducing expenses. We talk about reducing bad debt specifically next week in week 2. But I think the key is, income, and how do we drive our income up so we can ultimately have more independence? Because a lot of us have high incomes, but we're not financially independent. We're a slave to our jobs. There's a whole movement happening called Henry.
I haven't heard.
Which is high earner, not rich yet. So it's a concept where you're making a lot of money. You're making $200,000-$300,000 a year, but you're spending that much.
Yeah.
And I had a client early on as a financial planner, a doctor that I met with, who was making $400,000 a year, and this is 25 years ago.
I mean, that's a lot of money. Okay? 25 years ago.
Spending $415. So he was making a ton of money, but spending. He had the Range Rover, the BMW, he had the yacht in the garage, huge house, and he was spending. He was living beyond his means, and I think that's the opposite of freedom, right? If he was smarter with his money, and he probably anticipates like his income is going to go from 4 to 6 to 8 to $1 million to $2 million, hopefully it did for him. But I think at the time he was highly stressed out, working 70 hours a week and literally trading his time for dollars and not really enjoying any of the fruits of his labor. So I think it's income, it's super important, but independence is super important. Just having the ability to live life the way you want to live it. And that's what lifestyle design is all about.
I love that you talked about designing on the micro level, the day. How do you want an individual day to go? Then thinking a little further out, how do you want a year to go? And that for you, you're also thinking about like what kind of longer term projects may I want to do? Do I want to write a book? Do I want to start a business? Tell me what you think about, you mentioned the Henry movement. There's a FIRE movement, right? Financial independence, retire early.
Yeah.
These people are usually, they try to be high income earners early on in their life, diligent investors.
Save a huge percentage or invest a huge percentage of it.
Very aggressive investing to try to reach a point of what you would call asset freedom, probably.
Yeah.
In their 30s, 40s. They don't want to wait till 65.
No.
They want to retire.
They want to enjoy life.
Yeah. But I think, again, a lot of these folks have this vision of reaching asset freedom so I can do nothing with my life.
Yeah.
So I can just.
I think that's the problem. I think, so I've been financially independent or free for going on 20 years.
Okay, so you're in your 30s when you reached that point.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so for me, I was 30 years old essentially. 32, 33 years old, had enough income, passive income through real estate investments and rentals, right? Both commercial and residential properties that I didn't need to work. But again, I had a young family, and I think it's important to make an impact. There's income, there's independence, but then there's impact. At the foundation of financial freedom, I believe that we have this concept, the Japanese call it ikigai. And it's a beautiful idea. It's basically 4 things. We've simplified it to 3 things. The 3 things are this. What are you good at? Or what are you great at? Because some people don't think they're great at anything, but they're good at a few things. And that's semantics a little bit. I bet most people are really, really good at things. So what are those things? Then, what do you enjoy doing? Okay, what do you like to do, or what do you love to do? There's probably some things that you love to do, okay, that you don't just like to do. And so I think, and there's things that you hate to do, but you're good at.
Yeah. Right.
So we don't want to operate there, but so what are we good at? So what do we like to do? And then what does the world need? Or what is the world starving for? Yeah. Like if we're talking about, making a business, because there's really 2 ways to become financially free. We're going to save or invest our way there. We're going to take the cash flow coming into us, like you incorporated, like Tony Incorporated. You have a finite amount of money coming into your house, into your, life each month. How do you allocate that? Right? We have a framework for that. We call it GEL. It's a cash flow system. But anyways, you're going to allocate the FIRE community says take as big of a chunk as we can and allocate it, invest it properly in the market, essentially. Okay. But the other way that most people are going to retire, early or become financially independent is through creating an asset. We call it asset freedom. When our assets produce enough income to pay all of our expenses. It's very simple.
Yep.
That's asset freedom. And an asset could be like the guy recording this video right now, Galen, he's a musician. And he recorded songs in music years ago, and he put them on the streaming platforms, and he gets a royalty.
Yep.
Okay, so that song, that work he did 10, 15, 20 years ago is still paying him today because it's an asset, right? Now it's not paying him enough to retire independent. That's why he's an active, investor.
Yep.
But I think that's the key. And then, so if we look at Ikigai, it's trying to live at the balance or build a life around the balance or the intersection of those three things. So what are we good at? What do we like to do? What does the world need or starving for?
You've thought about Ikigai for a while. What's yours? How did you find your intersection there?
So I learned about Ikigai almost 20 years ago. And I thought it was like finding the perfect profession, like occupation. Yeah. Like I thought the goal of Ikigai, exactly, was to, hey, am I a doctor?
Yeah, right.
Am I an NBA player? I think LeBron James knows what his Ikigai is. Like, he was so gifted athletically from the time he was this big that he just kept, pushing that gift. Yeah. And he kept working, and he just got better and better and better. So for 99% of the population, I don't believe Ikigai is an occupation. I believe it's a direction.
Okay.
I believe that we need to walk directionally towards our talents, towards what we like doing,
I like that.
Towards what the world needs. It's like if we're dropped off in the middle of a forest.
Yep.
I know I'm not going to walk the medical. I'm not here to be a doctor. I'm not here to be an athlete. What I am here to do, what I've learned, is I'm a creator, and I'm not an artist, but I'm creative. Yeah. And so I create things, create ideas and mental inventions that help people see the world in a new way. Get healthier, get wealthier, get happier. Yeah. And so for me, that's operating in my Ikigai. And I think you're a lot of the same way. You have some talents that I don't. You are a musician, a pastor, and you have an ability to stand up in front of a room and just captivate an audience of a few thousand people with words, and I think that that's super important, but that's a skill that you've cultivated, right? And you like doing it?
I do love doing that. I mean, I like this idea of Ikigai. I haven't quite thought about it this explicitly, but as a trajectory, as a direction. A direction that you're heading, instead of this stressful sort of bullseye that you have to hit, because
it's not that.
It's the kind of thing that can evolve over time, right? Different seasons of your life will call forth different parts of you, and they will call you to operate in different ways. And over time, you've got this sort of North Star of you can triangulate between these.
So you feel guilt because as a real estate investor, I was making a lot of money in real estate when I learned about this concept, and I'm like, I know my Ikigai is not a real estate investor. I was looking at it like I know I wasn't put here to invest in real estate, to own property, because it's just, I liked it, I was good at it, the world needs it. But I didn't feel like it was my calling, and I was looking at it the wrong way. My Ikigai is creating solutions to problems, and I was doing that as a real estate investor. When we were buying property and using creativity to redevelop a property, a commercial property, or this farm that we're sitting on right now, Mapleside Farms in Brunswick, Ohio. It was going to be a housing development. I'm looking out this window, and there were 228 houses planned to be developed in that orchard behind you right now, back in 2007 and 8. And we bought the property before it went to auction, a week before it went to auction. And my Ikigai was looking at this business, at this property, and reimagining it, having a vision for what it should be, because its highest and best use from a real estate investing perspective would be to develop the heck out of it. But highest and best use is not that. We're making more money operating this farm, helping the people create memories as a family long-term, year after year after year, than it would as a housing development. So that's a creative way to look at something. Yeah.
Why do you think most people kind of live the W-2 life? Like you've talked about creating wealth, creating additional income streams. That's one way you can build your way to this financial freedom. Most people don't seem to do that though, right? Like most people seem to get a job, work that 9 to 5, work 40-something years, put money in a 401k and hope they have enough at the end.
Most people are waiting for permission. So it's as simple as that. Like most people, we're trained as kids to wait to eat until that dinner is ready. Yeah. We're trained to go to school, or we're trained to go to recess when we get permission from the teacher. So I think most of us psychologically, we're literally waiting for someone to give us permission to do just about anything. Entrepreneurs don't wait for permission. Because who's giving you permission?
Right,
who's giving you the permission to start a business?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? You might be waiting for your wife to give you permission verbally, but in all reality, right, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. That's something that you should live by. And I think, so the reason most people just punch in and punch out is because they're waiting for permission psychologically, deep-seated in the back of their head. They're not going to start anything new until they feel like everything is perfect. Well, nothing is ever perfect. That's not what this is about. Like, the time is always best right now. You know, the best time to start a business is right now. The best time to start investing in a portfolio is right now. The best time to invest in the stock market or crypto, it's right now. It's always been right now. It always will be. Well, the best time was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But since we can't live in the past, and we don't recommend you living in the past, the best time is now. And who are you waiting for permission from? Because no one's gonna, like, you give yourself permission to go and attack life and live life on offense instead of defense. So if we're waiting for permission most of the time, I think that gate that we're trying to walk through is fear. Like I've said a lot, that freedom lives on the other side of fear. I know for me, from the time I was 5 up until like 21, 22 years old, I let fear make every decision for me because of my speech impediment. And many days, I didn't realize the connection between food and speech, between like just my neural pathways in speech, but I grew up with a stutter. And so for me, I don't want to fail, because I failed every day so many times that I didn't want to fail publicly ever in front of anyone else. And to do something, to start a business, to try to retire early, to get healthier, like, you're putting yourself out there.
Anytime you set a goal.
And I think fear, so fear is that thing that's preventing us from actually taking action, right? So if we can just move in spite of fear, if we can realize that no fear, that living in a world of no fear, it's not real. Like fear will always be there. I use fear now as energy. When fear steps in and I start like noticing my lower self, become afraid, fear anything, I just question it. My higher self, my rational mind is like, well, why am I using self-talk like that? Why am I doubting myself here? Why do I not think I'm capable to do this? And I think when you sit back and just think, and you think strategically, well, I'm going to move in spite of fear, I'm going to use fear as energy, then it actually can help you move forward. And just realize that, like, when you're doing anything, you're going to run into obstacles. And most people, again, at every obstacle, they're waiting for permission. They're looking around, they're walking.
Someone to tell them what to do.
They start walking directionally towards their dreams, and they get 10 steps in, and they get a roadblock.
First problem.
And they stop. And then they're looking around, they're waiting for somebody, right? They're waiting for permission again. So I think if those two things, like that 1-2 punch, like, quit waiting for permission and quit letting fear make decisions for you, you're going to be on your way. You will make mistakes, but mistakes are not bad. Like, I've started a lot of companies that aren't even in business anymore. And I failed. Not everything, 12 companies we have operational right now, all making good money. There's at least another 10 that died by the wayside.
Sure.
Yeah, so you're not always going to hit base hits and home runs, but you just got to keep going.
You need to accept that, right? Which is what I've seen in you. You've helped me sort of come to terms with, like, no, this is the game. The game is like, keep on putting one step in front of the other.
If you're playing baseball, you're not going to hit every ball you swing at. Right? You're not going to make every shot, in basketball. But what do the greats do? And what do the good players do? They keep shooting. They just keep shooting.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned, like, that there's fear that can hold people back, or there can be a sense of safety to the W-2 life, and I'm going to just be
comfort.
A part of this company. Yeah.
It's comfort.
I would challenge people to think through, as you look at your whole life, though, there is a risk to not taking chances on the things that are really important to you. Like, my worst fear probably is getting to 70 or 80 and wishing I had done all these things that sort of are in my mind as, one day I'll do that. One day when someone gives me permission, But we can take action now, and
I think that's huge. That someday may never happen. If we drew a timeline right now and we drew a dot on a whiteboard, and that's us, that's you or me, that's our life right now. Well, and this is our past, and this is our future. So we have a birth date and we have a death date, and all the time in between. We don't know, like, wherever we're at with this dot, we think, like, you're 30, how old?
33.
So you're young. You may think you're going to be 83. But what if the end of your life is 30? at 36
Could
or
be.
42. Yeah, it could be.
Could be.
We don't know. So that's why we have to quit living for some mythical date or event in the future where someone is going to give us permission, or we're going to give ourselves permission to retire.
Right.
Just start building, creating the life that you want to live. And I think with the financial part of it is a huge part of it. We live in America. Everything's expensive. Inflation is ridiculous. It's expensive to live or rent. So it's expensive to go to the movies or go to the grocery store. And I think the key there is that we have to focus. Money has to be an important focus of what we're doing professionally, and making more of it and making it passively so we can actually enjoy life.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know. What is long is not hard? I don't even know what that is.
Long is not hard is a very simple way to explain we should always be doing what we're doing.
Okay.
Meaning if we go to the gym, the goal is not to spend 2 hours at the gym. The goal is to put some hard work at the gym.
Sure, yeah.
If we're working, many people think I spent 8, 10, 12 hours at work, that long day. There's a direct connection in their brain, long to hard, completely untrue. I believe that work will always expand to fill the time we give it. Mm-hmm. So if we give our jobs, our companies, my businesses, if I give it 50 hours a week of my life, then work will expand. It will expand, time expansion, into that 50 hours. And I still might feel like I didn't get everything done. But if I say, yeah, I'm only giving the creative aspect of my work, 3 hours a day, 2 days a week, you would be absolutely amazed at what my brain can create in those 3 hours a day, 2 days a week. Like when you're working, what should you be doing? You should be working. You shouldn't be on your phone. Yeah. When you're at home with your kids, when you're at your kids' ball game, you should be at the ball game. When you're with your wife at the movie or dinner, you should be with your wife at the movie or dinner, right? So I think so many of us just live and we're so reactive to what life is throwing at us. And this, long is not hard. It's just a very simple way. Like it's a thought that I say a lot, like make sure I'm always doing what I'm doing. If I'm putting hard work in at the gym, I can do that in 30 minutes a day versus 2 hours for somebody else that's walking around the gym and just talking to everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Like be focused in your activity is essentially what that means.
It's really about intention, right?
Yeah,
it's
intention.
like just remember what it is that you're here for.
Yeah.
And act with intention. I love that.
Yeah.
So you're not a huge fan of budgets necessarily, which is maybe surprising. People would think, okay, a guy's been pretty successful with money. Surely must have budgets and use them regularly and love them.
We've never lived off of a budget ever.
Yeah,
now, our companies operate, the bigger the company, the greater the likelihood that you will have to put budgets in place, because then you're just you're delineating responsibility. And like you have a manager in the marketing department, he or she needs to know how much they can spend on marketing this month. Yeah. So I think that budgeting can be replaced by cash flow. Like as we look at our businesses, we manage cash flow organizationally and then departmentally in our companies. And I think a human being, you, me, our family, your wife, your kids, my family, we should be looking at cash flow. And cash flow is simply cash in, cash out. And so, I wish we had a button that we could press that would just automatically generate more cash flow, right? That would increase our income or increase our net worth. There are, things we can do that have a little bit of a delayed gratification that will do that. But the point is, today, right now, as we're sitting here, this day, we have X amount of cash coming into my family, and we're spending X amount of cash. So to me, we don't look at it as a budget. We look at a cash flow framework. We call it GEL. Okay. And it's just 3 things, 3 buckets. It's very easy. Give, experience, and live. So most of us look at all of our living expenses, and we might subscribe to some modern financial gurus. There's no shortage of books or gurus out there that tell you to allocate every single dollar that's coming in to something, to your house, your mortgage, insurance, paying off debt. I don't believe that works. That, to me, that's like a diet. To me, that's restrictive. And we know long-term that diets don't work. Through H40, we've worked with thousands of people in H40. We know that long-term diets don't work. Short-term, they can be a Band-Aid solution, but we're trying to find a rhythm for eating, a rhythm for existing and health. The same thing financially. Our financial health is going to be based on a rhythm for how we spend our money, for our cash flow, cash in, cash out. So what I think people should do is they should try to live off 50 to 60% of their take-home pay, their net income.
Yep.
So for example, if you're making $100,000 a year, but you're taking home, let's say 70 after taxes, then you should try to live your living expenses. So rent or mortgage, cars, insurance, groceries, like fixed sort of living expenses, utilities, TV. This should be no more than 50 to 60%. Ideally, it's 50%. And then we can get really creative and powerful with the other 50%. So it's like a weight scale. It's balance.
Yeah.
We say that balance is everything. But I think most people will be closer to 60%.
Yeah.
Okay? And some people will be 70 or 80%. Those people are highly stressed out. They're absolutely not at stress level 0. They're at stress level like 85.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah, they're living paycheck to paycheck. 2/3 of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck.
And
so I
some of them
guarantee you, if we budgeted, yeah, absolutely. If we budgeted their income, they're spending 70, 80%.
Yeah.
This is just basic financial planning. When you're living off of 70 to 80 to 90% of your income, you're not in a good mental state with money.
No.
Right? It's self-destructive.
Not much wiggle room.
So 50 to 60%. You got to get it down to 60%. If that means you got to sell your truck that's $800 a month and drive a used car, then that's what it means.
Yeah.
What it does not mean is you can't go to Starbucks a few days a week and get a coffee. Like when we try to scrimp our way to wealth, it never happens. It's not successful.
Yeah.
There are the big levers, our house, our car, the big expenses. If we look at the budget, I look at it as cash flow. But then the other half of the scale, so how do we keep this in balance? We give, right? And yes, I mean, when I say to you give, you probably think give to my church,
Charity
give
or
to charity,
yeah.
give to nonprofit.
That is what I thought.
Yeah, 100%. We should be doing 5, 10, even 15% of our income. We should be giving away to someone else or something else outside of us. But the biggest chunk of giving should be our future self. When we invest money, when we put money into a retirement account, into a portfolio, when we start a business, when we start writing a book, when we create an information product to sell online, we're giving our future self a gift. That's going to cost money to bring these things to life. We're gifting our future self. So give should be really 20 to 30%. And then what about experience the world? What about this, delayed gratification thing? We're trying to delay gratification forever. No, we should be enjoying, the best part about life.
That's so important.
Is experiencing the world with people we love. So we should be taking these monthly overnight trips to hotel or cabin, even if it's like, $50, $60. If you say, I don't have the money to do that, I bet you have $60 or $80. You find a cheap hotel. And so essentially that's GEL, give, experience, and live. And that's sort of how we allocate the cash flow.
I love that it prioritizes experiences because there can sometimes be this tension of, well, maybe I should scrimp and save as much as I can now and skip all the fancy trips, and then one day when I have the financial stability, I'll go and do those experiences. But it's like life is happening now, though. I'm in a young body now. I want to build the memories now, and I want to have them for a lifetime. So I feel like experiences, there just has to be a balance.
When we're always delaying gratification, delaying something for the future, we think psychologically we're working hard. We think we think that's discipline. Actually, we can become addicted to the cortisol release from stress that is directly linked to being overly disciplined. There is such a thing as being overly disciplined. Discipline is unbelievably good. When it comes to actually living and enjoying life, we should be living and enjoying life every day, every week, every month, every year.
Yeah, be disciplined about that.
Yeah, be disciplined about that, exactly.
When you think about financial freedom, I know you kind of talk about like there's levels to it.
Yeah, there's stages.
These 3 levels, what are they?
So the first step, I think, is stress level 0. That's what most people need to work towards, and that is when money is not causing you mental or physical anguish.
I bet that sounds great for people.
Yeah, and if you live according to GEL, if you can adopt your cash flow situation, your framework for money in, money out, then that's the fastest way to get to stress level 0. It doesn't mean you can retire tomorrow. It doesn't mean that you can, to take off 6 months even from work and do a sabbatical. What it does mean is that money is not a direct cause of physiological issues in your body.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's important. That's sort of the first step, and then the next step is these variations of asset freedom, having enough money from assets that pays your expenses. This is when independence comes in. So we look at the framework for financial freedom as like income is at the top. That's what we want, okay? But we don't want income without independence. We don't want income or independence without impact. We ultimately want to make an impact. So these three levels are essentially stress level 0, and we're going to increase our income to be able to reach that point and reduce expenses, especially bad debt. Then with asset freedom, we get independence, true independence, passive income. And then real freedom happens when we can spend the majority of our time only working on things that are super important to us, completely operating in our ikigai. And so that is ultimately the goal.
I kind of want to ask, as you think about lifestyle design, designing your day, your week, those rhythms, how do you balance, you mentioned a minute ago, 12 companies that are, productive and successful. You've got a family. How do you think about and balance work, play, and rest? Those three things. How do they operate in the life of Greg Clement?
Yeah. At this point in my life, I'm working approximately 40 to 45 hours a week.
Yeah.
And when I'm at work, I'm working.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
I'm not working 80 hours a week. Now, we happen to be in October and it's festival season.
Busy
so
season.
At Mapleside, the farm, there's 5-6 weekends out of the year where from an hours in perspective, it's more than that. But essentially my rhythm for living right now is I'm at a point where we still have kids in school, so we can't leave for 3 months at a time and just go wherever we want to go.
Yep.
So I've adopted the rhythm that I'm working full time.
Because you want to.
Yeah, because I want to, because I'm operating my ikigai. I'm operating that impact. I'm making an impact. And so, in a few years, I know that I'm going to work a little bit less, and we're going to explore the world a little bit more. We do a good job of exploring the world now, but I think that's going to enhance over the next couple of years. And I'm fine with that. I'm patient. To me, that's a little disciplined, but it's not overly disciplined. Yep. I still do these crazy things every year, every other year, like motorcycle trips or razor trips up the Rocky Mountains, international trips. I think the key, though, is when I'm working, I'm working. And when I'm resting, I'm trying to rest. I'm actually enjoying life. I think, R&R, having the ability to have a free day and just be able to do whatever you want to do and not be connected to your phone to work, not answering emails. A lot of entrepreneurs will answer emails 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I think we have to get disconnected from our phone. If you just run this simple experiment, like your cell phone, just not use it for a day. Friday night, put your phone away, turn it off, put it on the charger. Don't pick it up again until Sunday.
You sound like a crazy person in 2024.
I'm telling you, mentally, you will be. You will pick that book up.
Yeah.
You'll pick the book up and read for an hour and a half instead of looking at Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or like it changes our neural pathways for the good, right? And I think just because the phone makes us constantly reactive, we can become addicted to the little dopamine rush, but we can also become addicted to cortisol.
Yeah.
And just the stress, the eustress or distress, we can become addicted to both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what F40 has done is it's really focused us as a team. Like we're a group of researchers and entrepreneurs. It's really forced us to synthesize our ideas on how to design your life, how to reduce, the bad debt, how to invest professionally, what exactly would we do if we had $1,000, 10,000, 100,000, $1 million? And then my favorite is create. Like the create module that week is just when your mind sort of expands and you start to see the world in a whole new way. And so we're excited that this is the first time we're actually going to publicly share these ideas with the world. So we can't wait to see what comes out of it.